Hello everybody, BigPlanes here. Now before I dive too deep into this video on the Emirates A380, I would like to give a shout out to my patrons over on Patreon. Thank you to everybody over on Patreon who helps support the channel. You guys mean a lot to me, and you are one of the main reasons why I'm actually able to build these planes. So yeah, if you want to go support the channel over on Patreon, I will leave a link in the description below. So yeah, today's video is obviously going to be about the Emirates A380, but more specifically, it's going to be about the tail and the progress I've made to the tail of the Emirates A380. So there's some pretty obvious things that have happened here, and there are some things that are not as obvious that have happened back here with the tail as well. Now, obviously, the biggest one is the horizontal stabilizer. Yay, I finally got the horizontal stabilizer in. Now, this has taken longer than I would have expected it to be honest with you. But one thing that you have to keep in mind, that I sort of had to remind myself when I'm building this, is that the A380 is big. I know that's the A380 is big. That's sort of the end of that argument. I mean, if you look at this thing, it is literally the size of a wing on some airplanes. This thing is just so big that I mean, you could probably take the wing off of the 737, which is over there temporarily. I'm still waiting for the printed parts, but you could take the wing off of that and stick it back here, and that's basically the size. In fact, I think this thing has more overall mass and more weight than the 737 wing. So yes, this thing is very big. Just building the horizontal stabilizer is almost the equivalent to building a wing for a narrow body airplane. This thing is really big. So that's why it has taken so long to just build this, whereas usually it would only take like a day or so to build the horizontal stabilizer. Instead, it has taken me weeks. So yay. I also wanted to add a little bit more to this than I usually do for my horizontal stabilizers. And the most obvious thing that has been added is the addition of elevators. Yay, elevators. I finally added elevators to one of my planes. Now, right now they are in the upwards position, and they can be stowed and they can be put in the down position. But yay, I finally put them in there. Now, the reason that I have generally avoided putting elevators in previous airplanes is because they take up a lot of room, the mechanism, to operate them. Now, sure, if you just go for a basic hinge mechanism, you can pretty much get it into a lot more different shapes and sizes. But when you do that, you end up with a massive gap running along the trailing edge of the wing, and it's pretty obvious that it's there. In my opinion, it looks really bad. So I opt usually in most cases to just not include them on the thing at all and to have it look nicer. But in this case, going back to the A380 is a really big airplane, I had a lot more room inside of the stabilizers to actually add the entire mechanism for this. So yay, it's in there, and I'm actually really happy with it. They work really well. It's going to be very hard for me to demonstrate it from this angle because I can't reach them from here. I have to go climb under my table to be able to get them. But do not worry, in the final video I will show you how these work, because it's a very sort of interesting sliding mechanism where it's very similar actually to the flaps on a lot of my planes, where it slides out and then it sort of slots into place. So do not worry, that will be in the final video. Also, the wing box sort of mechanism right here, I'll try to zoom in on it for you. Sorry, I'm angling over on the plane here, but you can see that the wing box, if it comes in the focus, there we go. It's a very similar design to the one that I used on my Air Force One 747 actually. In fact, it's exactly the same design. I basically just start struggling to focus there. I basically just ported it over to this thing, and this thing basically controls the dihedral as well as the forward cant and the leading edge angle, and it works very well. This has actually been very sturdy. I haven't had any problems with it at all whatsoever, wanting to fall or break off or whatever it may be. But you know, that's pretty much what I've accomplished with the tail there. And the thing is that this thing is very large, obviously, like I said, so it wants to break off. When I was installing it multiple times, it decided to just, hey, I'm just going to leave, and it broke off. So I had to go in and reinforce it. I haven't had too many problems with it now that I've reinforced it, but this thing is also very heavy because it's swept back. So that puts the sort of strain further back on the wing box. So again, that's just one more sort of engineering thing that I have to figure out there, or else the whole thing would fall off. And I know a lot of you guys are probably noticing the support underneath the tail as well. Do not worry, that is temporary, obviously. I'm not going to leave that there. And the real thing, what's going on right now is that since there isn't really a upper deck back there, it does not have the rigidity that it needs to be able to, hold itself up. So until I can install the upper deck back there, I am going to leave that support there. That's basically the same thing that I did for Air Force One, and that's what I'm going to do for this. So works pretty well. Hopefully in the next update, I am able to build out the upper deck. I want to get the upper deck all the way past the red windows and to about where the doors are. That's what I'm aiming for with the upper deck, because I want it to extend all the way out, and then I want to start blending it into the horizontal stabilizer. And obviously the vertical stabilizer on this thing is going to be absolutely massive. I don't have the graphic here to show you, or the blueprint, but it's going to dwarf basically every other plane in this room. So that's coming up very soon. The next thing to be worked on, obviously, like I said, is extending the upper deck all the way back. Another thing that's sort of smaller, and I'm not sure if I put it in the other video, is that I finally finished blending the underside of the wing, or not the wing, the fuselage. The underside of the fuselage has basically been blended in all the way back there, and I think this was in the last update, but it might not have been, so I'll just show you it in this one. And I still need to blend a little bit towards where the wheel doors are, obviously, but I think it looks pretty good actually so far. And that's not my main focus at this point. My main focus now is going to be finishing and extending up the upper deck all the way back here. So this begs the question, what do I do then? So I'm going to extend the upper deck all the way back, and I'm going to start blending it in, especially underneath the horizontal stabilizer. Sorry about the shaky camera. I'm going to blend it in under there. I don't want to see any gaps, and this is actually a really good angle to show the forward tilt. You can see that the whole assembly is basically tilting forward. That's not just the tail warping. The tail's not warping. That is the whole fin assembly, or whole stabilizer assembly, tilting forward. So yeah, next update, I'm going to blend most of this in, and I hope to extend the upper deck pretty far back. I want to get to the point where I can install the vertical stabilizer, because that has a lot of very sort of detailed lines running through it and whatever. So yeah, hopefully I can get you guys another update in about a week. I know I've gone a couple of weeks without giving you an update, and I'm trying my best to update you as often as I could, but I just got in the groove, and yeah, kept working on it. So hopefully I will stop myself and actually give you guys an update before I get too far along here. So that's all I pretty much have for this video. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and expect to see another update on the tail very soon here, because I want to get this thing done as much as you do. So that's all I really have for this one. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and bye for now.